Hi Guy. Tonight, welcome to imagine a world where gods and mortals walk the same earth, where the sea whispers secrets to the shore, and the stars above hum with stories older than time itself. This is the world of Greek mythology, a place where every breeze carries a tale, and every shadow holds a mystery. In this gentle, quiet corner of that world, we find Medusa, not the monster you might picture, but a woman, mortal and human, whose story begins not with terror, but with a soft, unassuming beauty. Her name, Medusa, means guardian or protectress in the ancient tongue, a name that hints at strength, not horror. As we settle into her tale, let's drift into the calm of her beginnings, letting the weight of the day slip away like sand through your fingers. Medusa was one of 3 sisters, known together as the Gorgons. Her sisters, Stheno and Euryale, were born immortal, touched by the divine spark that made them eternal, their lives stretching endless as the horizon. But Medusa was different. She was mortal, her heart beating with the fleeting rhythm of a human life. This alone set her apart, a fragile thread in a tapestry of gods and immortals. The Gorgons were not always creatures of nightmare in the oldest tales. They were beings of power, tied to the mysteries of the earth and sea, their names whispered in awe rather than fear. Medusa, though, was not born with the fearsome traits that would later define her. She was simply a woman, living in a world where the gods' whims could change everything in an instant. Picture a quiet coastal village, where the air smells of salt and wildflowers, and the sun paints the cliffs in hues of gold. This is where Medusa's story takes root, in a place where the mortal and divine brush against each other like waves lapping at the shore. The Gorgons, despite their later reputation, were not always outcasts. In some stories, they were guardians of sacred places, their presence a bridge between the human world and the divine. Medusa, the youngest, carried a warmth that drew people to her, though she was not one to seek attention. Her life was simple, her days filled with the rhythm of ordinary tasks tending to the hearth, walking the paths where olive trees swayed, or listening to the songs of the sea. Her mortal nature made her relatable, a figure who felt the same joys and sorrows as those around her. The world of Greek mythology is vast, a tapestry woven with gods who command the skies, seas, and underworld, and mortals who navigate their power. To understand Medusa, we must first see her not as the creature of legend, but as a woman caught in this delicate balance. The gods were ever present, their influence as constant as the tides. Athena, goddess of wisdom and war, held sway over temples where mortals offered devotion. Poseidon, lord of the seas, churned the waters and stirred the hearts of those who caught his eye. Medusa lived in this world, her life intertwined with these divine forces, though she could not yet know how deeply they would shape her fate. Medusa's story is not one of villainy, but of tragedy, a tale of a woman whose life was altered by forces beyond her control. The image of her, with snakes for hair and a gaze that turns men to stone, is one that has echoed through time, painted on vases, carved into stone, and whispered in stories meant to frighten. But this is not where her story begins. It begins with a woman, not a monster, whose heart was as human as yours or mine. Her transformation, her terrifying appearance, was not her doing, not her fault. To tell her story is to peel back the layers of myth, to find the quiet truth beneath the fear. As we ease into this tale, imagine yourself resting by a calm sea, the waves lulling you into a gentle rhythm. Medusa's world was not so different from Theseus' place where beauty and danger coexisted, where the mortal and divine danced in uneasy harmony. Her sisters, Steno and Uriel, were figures of power, their immortality a shield against the fragility of human life. Yet Medusa, mortal and vulnerable, carried a different kind of strength. She was not a goddess, not a hero, but a woman whose life would be shaped by choices she did not make, by gods who saw her as a pawn in their divine games. The Gorgons, in their earliest stories, were not always monsters. Some say they were born from the sea, children of ancient deities like Phorcys and Ceto, who ruled the deep waters. Their connection to the sea gave them a wild, untamed aura, but not one of malice. Medusa, though, was not born with the same divine spark as her sisters. Her mortality made her unique, a figure who could feel the weight of time, the fleeting nature of each moment. This vulnerability would become both her burden and her tragedy, a reminder that even in a world of gods, a human heart could bear the heaviest of fates. As we linger here, let's picture Medusa in her early days, before the myths painted her as a creature to fear. Her hair, not yet a nest of serpents, flowed like a river, catching the light of the sun. Her eyes, not yet cursed, held a quiet warmth, reflecting the world around her. She was not a figure of power or ambition, but one of simplicity, living in a world where the gods watched closely, their desires as unpredictable as a summer storm. This is the Medusa we meet first, not the monster, but the woman, standing at the edge of a story that would change her forever. To tell her tale is to step into a world where the lines between mortal and divine blur, where beauty can become a curse, and where a single moment can alter a life. Medusa's story is one of loss, of unfairness, but also of a quiet resilience that lingers beneath the surface. As we move forward, we'll follow her path, from her days as a priestess to the moment her life was forever changed. For now, let's rest in this introduction, letting the image of a mortal woman, standing by the sea, guide us into the next part of her story. This is just the beginning, a soft entry into a tale that unfolds like a dream. As you listen, let the world of Greek mythology wrap around you like a blanket, its stories whispering softly as you drift closer to sleep. Medusa's life, her humanity, is the heart of this tale, and it begins not with fear, but with a gentle truth. She was not born a monster, but made one by forces beyond her control. Let's carry this thought as we move forward, easing into the next chapter of her life, where her beauty and devotion set the stage for all that follows. Picture a quiet morning in a coastal village, where the first light of dawn spills over the cliffs, painting the world in shades of rose and gold. The air carries the scent of olive groves and the distant murmur of waves, a gentle rhythm that seems to cradle the earth itself. This is where we find Medusa, not yet the figure of myth, but a young woman whose days are woven with simplicity and devotion. Her life, before the shadow of tragedy fell, was one of quiet purpose, centered around her role as a priestess in the temple of Athena. As we settle into this moment, let the soft cadence of her world wash over you, like a lullaby carrying you closer to rest. Medusa was known for her beauty, though it was not the kind that demanded attention. It was a quiet beauty, like the glow of moonlight on still water, subtle yet undeniable. Her hair, long and flowing, was her crown, catching the sunlight in waves of chestnut and gold. It was said that her hair alone could draw the gaze of anyone who passed by, though Medusa herself paid little mind to such things. Her heart was given to her duties, to the sacred space she tended in Athena's temple. As a priestess, she was bound by vows of purity and devotion, her life dedicated to honoring the goddess of wisdom and war. These vows were not a burden to her, but a choice, a way to anchor herself in a world where the gods' whims could shift like the tides. The temple of Athena stood on a hill overlooking the sea, its marble columns gleaming under the sun. It was a place of serenity, where the air was thick with the scent of burning herbs and the soft hum of prayers. Medusa spent her days here, tending the altar, lighting the sacred fires, and offering gifts to Athena. Her hands moved with care, arranging olive branches or pouring libations of wine, each act a quiet offering to the goddess she served. The temple was her sanctuary, a place where she felt connected to something greater than herself. The other priestesses, her companions in this sacred work, saw her as a sister, her gentle presence a comfort in the stillness of their shared duties. Life as a priestess was not without its demands. The vows of purity meant Medusa set aside personal desires, her life shaped by discipline and reverence. Yet she found joy in the rhythm of her days. Mornings began with the soft glow of dawn. As she walked the temple paths, her sandals brushing against stone worn smooth by years of devotion, she would pause to watch the sea, its endless dance a reminder of the world beyond the temple's walls. Afternoons were spent in quiet tasks, sweeping the marble floors, weaving garlands for the altar, or chanting hymns that echoed through the columns. Evenings brought moments of reflection as she stood beneath the stars, offering silent prayers to Athena for wisdom and protection. Medusa's beauty, though, was more than her appearance. It was in the way she carried herself, with a grace that seemed to flow from her devotion. The villagers who visited the temple spoke of her kindness, the way she listened when they shared their worries or hopes. She was not aloof, as some priestesses might be, but warm, her smile a small gift to those who sought Athena's favor. Her sisters, Steno and Uriel, were less involved in the mortal world, their immortal nature setting them apart. But Medusa, being mortal, felt the weight of each moment, the fleeting beauty of a sunrise or the laughter of a child in the village below. This connection to the human world made her beloved, though it also made her vulnerable. The temple was a place of balance, where the mortal and divine met. Athena's presence was felt in the cool stone of the altar, in the flicker of the sacred flame. Medusa believed in the goddess's wisdom, trusted in her protection. She had no reason to think otherwise, no hint of the storm that would soon disrupt her life. Her days were predictable, comforting in their routine. She would rise with the dawn, her hair braided loosely as she prepared for the day's rituals. She would join the other priestesses in song, their voices blending like a gentle breeze, carrying their devotion to the heavens. These moments were her anchor, a reminder that her life had purpose, that she was part of something eternal. Yet even in this peaceful existence, there were whispers of the god's presence. The villagers spoke of Poseidon, the sea god, whose power churned the waves below the cliffs. His name was both revered and feared, for his moods could be as wild as a storm or as calm as a summer sea. Medusa, though, paid little attention to such tales. Her focus was on Athena, on the temple, on the vows that shaped her days. She did not seek the attention of gods or men, content in her quiet life. But beauty like hers, even unassuming, rarely went unnoticed in a world where gods walked among mortals. As we linger in this moment, imagine Medusa standing at the temple's edge, her gaze on the horizon where the sea meets the sky. The world feels still, the air soft against her skin. Her life is one of purpose, of devotion, of small joys found in the everyday. The temple's marble glows in the fading light, and the distant call of gulls weaves through the air. This is Medusa before the tragedy, a woman whose heart is tied to her faith, whose days are filled with the quiet beauty of service. She is not yet the figure of myth, not yet the creature of nightmares. She is simply Medusa, a mortal woman living in harmony with her world. Let this image settle in your mind, a gentle scene to carry you toward rest. The temple stands as a beacon of calm, its columns a reminder of order and peace. Medusa's life, for now, is untouched by sorrow, her heart open to the simple pleasures of her duties. As we move forward, we'll see how this peace is disrupted, how the god's actions cast a shadow over her life. As the sun dips low over the horizon, casting a golden glow across the sea, the world feels hushed, wrapped in the soft embrace of twilight. The village below the temple of Athena hums with the quiet rhythm of evening fishermen hauling in their nets, the distant laughter of children, the gentle lapping of waves against the shore. In this serene moment, Medusa stands within the temple, her hands busy with the day's final tasks, unaware that the threads of her life are about to be touched by a force far greater than herself. The sea, ever present in her world, carries more than just the scent of salt and the song of the tides. It carries the presence of Poseidon, the god of the seas, whose gaze has begun to linger on the mortal priestess. As we settle into this chapter of her story, let the calm of the evening guide you, like a soft breeze carrying you closer to rest. Poseidon, one of the mightiest gods in the Greek pantheon, ruled over the vast, untamed waters. His domain stretched from the shallow coves where children played to the deep, uncharted abysses where no mortal dared to venture. He was a god of power and unpredictability, his moods as shifting as the waves. To the people of the coast, he was both a protector and a force to be respected. His name spoken in prayers before voyages and in thanks for safe returns. His presence was felt in every gust of wind, every swell of the tide, and every storm that churned the sea into a froth of white. Yet, for all his divine might, Poseidon was also known for his desires, his heart stirred by beauty, mortal and immortal alike. Medusa, in her quiet life as a priestess, had little reason to think of Poseidon. Her world was the temple, its marble cool beneath her feet, its air filled with the scent of sacred herbs. She tended to Athena's altar, her days shaped by devotion and the vows that bound her to the goddess of wisdom. But beauty like hers, even unassuming, had a way of drawing attention, like a single star shining brighter in the twilight sky. The villagers whispered of her grace, her flowing hair that caught the light, her eyes that held a quiet warmth. These whispers, carried on the wind, reached beyond the mortal world to the ears of a god whose gaze could change the course of a life. Imagine Medusa now, standing at the temple's edge, her gaze drifting to the sea as the last rays of sunlight dance across its surface. The world feels peaceful, the temple a sanctuary where time seems to pause. She does not yet sense the shift in the air, the subtle ripple of divine presence that moves through the waves below. Poseidon, in his realm beneath the sea, has taken notice of her. His interest is not loud or sudden, but like the tide itself, it creeps closer, steady, and inevitable. In the stories of old, The gods often looked upon mortals with fascination, their immortal hearts stirred by the fleeting beauty of human lives. Medusa, with her mortal heart and quiet grace, has caught the eye of the sea god, though she remains unaware. The temple, perched on its hill, stands as a bridge between the mortal and divine. Its columns glow softly in the evening light, and the sacred flame burns steadily at the altar. Medusa's days are filled with purpose, her hands moving through familiar rituals, arranging offerings, chanting hymns, tending the fire that honors Athena. She feels safe here, wrapped in the rhythm of her duties, her vows a shield against the uncertainties of the world. But the gods are not bound by mortal vows, and Poseidon's attention is not something that can be ignored. His presence, though unseen, is like the pull of the tide, subtle yet powerful, drawing closer with each passing moment. In the village below, the people speak of Poseidon with reverence. They offer gifts to the sea, casting flowers or small tokens into the waves to ensure safe journeys or bountiful catches. Medusa, too, has heard these stories, but they are distant to her, like tales told around a fire. Her devotion is to Athena, her life shaped by the goddess's wisdom and strength. She does not seek the attention of other gods, does not imagine that her quiet existence could draw the gaze of one so powerful. Yet Poseidon, from his watery throne, watches her, his interest growing like a current beneath the surface, unseen but ever present. As we linger in this moment, picture the sea stretching out before the temple, its surface calm but alive with secrets. The waves whisper softly, their rhythm a lullaby that soothes the soul. Medusa, standing in the temple's glow, is unaware of the divine eyes upon her. Her life remains untouched, her heart steady in its devotion. But the gods, with their boundless power, see the world differently. To Poseidon, Medusa is a fleeting beauty, a mortal whose light shines brighter because it will not last forever. His interest is not yet a storm, but a gentle ripple, a stirring in the deep that will soon reach the shore. As twilight deepens over the coastal village, the world seems to hold its breath. The temple of Athena, perched on its hill, glows softly in the fading light, its marble columns standing like silent sentinels against the evening sky. The sea below whispers its endless song, a gentle lullaby that weaves through the air, mingling with the scent of burning herbs from the temple's altar. Medusa, within these sacred walls, moves through her duties with the quiet grace of routine, unaware that this night will mark a turning point in her life. The sanctity of Athena's temple, a place of peace and devotion, is about to be disrupted by an act that will ripple through Medusa's fate. As we settle into this chapter, let the calm of the temple's glow and the rhythm of the waves guide you, easing you into a state of rest. The temple was Medusa's sanctuary, a place where the world felt ordered and safe. Its marble floors, worn smooth by years of priestesses' footsteps, reflected the flicker of the sacred flame. The air was heavy with the fragrance of myrrh and laurel, offerings to Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. Medusa's days here were filled with purpose, attending the altar, chanting hymns, ensuring the temple remained a pure space for worship. Her vows of purity, taken when she became a priestess, were not just words but a commitment that shaped her life. They were a promise to Athena, a bond that tied her to the goddess's service, and she honored them with every breath. On this night, the temple is quiet. The other priestesses retired to their quarters. Medusa lingers, perhaps to offer one last prayer, or to arrange the offerings for the morning's rituals. The sea outside is calm. Its waves a soft murmur that blends with the stillness of the temple. But the air carries a subtle shift, a stirring that Medusa does not yet sense. Poseidon, the god of the seas, whose gaze has been drawn to her, is no longer content to watch from afar. His presence, once a distant ripple, now moves closer, like a tide creeping up the shore. The gods, in their boundless power, do not always respect the boundaries of mortal spaces, and Poseidon, with his untamed heart, is no exception. What happens in the temple is a violation, not just of Medusa's vows, but of the sacred space itself. In some versions of the myth, Poseidon's pursuit of Medusa is a moment of seduction, a fleeting encounter driven by his divine desire. In others, it is an act of force, a transgression that disregards her will and her role as a priestess. Here, we focus not on the act itself, but on its weight, the way it shatters the sanctity of Athena's temple, a place meant to be untouchable. The marble columns, the sacred flame, the offerings carefully placed on the altar are witnesses to a moment that should never have happened. The sea outside, Poseidon's domain, seems to grow still, as if holding its breath in the aftermath. Medusa, caught in this moment, is powerless against a god. Her vows, her devotion, her life within the temple are built on the belief that Athena's sacred space is inviolable. Yet Poseidon, with his divine authority, crosses a line that no mortal could. The temple, once a haven, becomes a stage for an act that will change Medusa's life forever. She does not choose this moment, does not invite it. She is a priestess, bound by her duties, her heart tied to Athena's service. But the gods do not always see mortals as equals, and Poseidon's actions reflect a disregard for the sanctity of the temple and the woman who serves within it. Imagine the temple now, its air heavy with the echo of what has occurred. The sacred flame flickers, as if uncertain, and the marble seems colder underfoot. Medusa, in the quiet that follows, is left to grapple with a moment she did not seek. Her world, once defined by the rhythm of her duties, feels unsteady, like a ship caught in a sudden swell. The sea outside continues its soft song, but it carries a different weight now, a reminder of Poseidon's power. Medusa does not yet know the consequences of this night, does not yet feel the shadow of Athena's wrath. For now, she is alone in the temple, her heart heavy with the weight of what has happened. The violation of the temple is not just a personal tragedy for Medusa, but a desecration of Athena's sacred space. The goddess, whose presence is felt in every stone and flame, values her temple as a place of purity and wisdom. To have it tainted, even by another god, is an affront to her divine authority. Yet Medusa, the mortal caught in this divine drama, is not the one who holds power. She is a priestess, a woman, a mortal vulnerable in a world where gods make their own rules. The incident in the temple is a moment of imbalance, a disruption of the harmony that Medusa has worked to maintain. As we linger in this scene, picture the temple standing silent, its columns bathed in moonlight. The sea beyond continues its gentle rhythm, a contrast to the turmoil within. Medusa, though shaken, remains a figure of quiet strength, her mortal heart beating in the aftermath of a god's actions. This moment is not her fault, not her choice. It is a turning point, a ripple that the night is deep now, the temple of Athena cloaked in a quiet that feels both sacred and heavy. Moonlight filters through the marble columns, casting long shadows across the floor, where the sacred flame flickers softly, its glow a reminder of the goddess's presence. The sea beyond the temple murmurs its endless song, a gentle rhythm that seems to cradle the world in its arms. Medusa, still within the temple's walls, stands in the aftermath of the incident with Poseidon, her heart heavy with a sense of violation she cannot fully grasp. The sanctity of this space, her sanctuary, has been broken, and the air feels charged with an unseen tension. As we settle into this chapter, let the soft glow of the temple and the distant lull of the waves guide you, easing you into a state of calm and rest. Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, is a figure of immense power, her presence woven into every stone of her temple. She is the protector of order, the guardian of purity, her mind sharp as the spear she carries. The temple is her domain, a place where mortals like Medusa offer devotion, where the balance between the human and divine is maintained. To Athena, the desecration of this sacred space is an affront, a wound to her divine authority. The incident involving Poseidon, a god of equal stature, has shattered the sanctity of her temple, leaving a mark that cannot be ignored. Yet, in the cruel logic of the gods, it is not Poseidon who will bear the weight of her anger. It is Medusa, the mortal priestess, who becomes the focus of Athena's wrath. Imagine the goddess now, her presence filling the temple like a storm gathering on the horizon. Her eyes, said to see all truths, burn with a fury that is both righteous and unyielding. Athena values her temple above all, a symbol of her power and wisdom. The violation within its walls, whether by seduction or force, strikes at the heart of her divine pride. But Poseidon, as a fellow Olympian, is beyond her reach. The gods do not easily punish one another, their power too vast, their conflicts too complex. Instead, Athena's gaze falls on Medusa, the mortal woman who stood in the temple during this transgression, bound by vows of purity that have now been tainted. Medusa, unaware of the divine storm brewing, remains in the temple, her hands perhaps still trembling as she tries to restore order to the altar. She is a priestess, her life dedicated to Athena, her every action shaped by devotion. She did not choose Poseidon's actions, did not invite the violation of her vows or the temple's sanctity. Yet, in the eyes of Athena, Medusa is no longer the pure servant she once was. The goddess, in her anger, sees not a victim but a symbol of the temple's defilement. The injustice of this moment is stark. Medusa, a mortal with no power to defy a god, is held accountable for a transgression she could not prevent. The moment of Athena's wrath is swift, like a lightning bolt splitting the night. She appears before Medusa, her presence overwhelming, her voice carrying the weight of divine judgment. The temple, once a place of peace, becomes a stage for a punishment that will echo through time. Athena does not offer words of comfort or understanding. Instead, she unleashes her power, weaving a curse that will transform Medusa forever. This is not a moment of wisdom, but of divine retribution, a reminder that the gods' justice is not always fair. Medusa, standing in the temple she has served so faithfully, is powerless as the goddess's will reshapes her fate. The curse is a cruel one, designed to mark Medusa as an outcast. Athena's power surges through the temple, and Medusa feels the weight of it, like a tide pulling her under. Her beauty, once a quiet gift, becomes the target of the goddess's anger. The transformation is not described in detail here, for its full weight will unfold in the next chapter, but its intent is clear: to make Medusa a figure of fear, to strip her of the humanity that defined her life as a priestess. The temple, once her sanctuary, becomes the place of her undoing, its sacred air now thick with the echo of Athena's judgment. As we linger in this moment, picture the temple standing silent under the stars, its marble cold and unyielding. The sacred flame burns low, as if mourning the loss of the temple's purity. Medusa, caught in the grip of Athena's wrath, is a figure of quiet tragedy, her mortal heart beating against the weight of divine punishment. The sea outside continues its gentle rhythm, a contrast to the turmoil within the temple's walls. This is a moment of injustice, a turning point that will cast a long shadow over Medusa's life. Let the image of the temple, its glow now touched by sorrow, settle softly in your mind, a gentle reminder of the fragility of mortal lives in a world ruled by gods. The unfairness of Athena's wrath is the heart of Medusa's story. She is not the one who sought Poseidon's attention, not the one who broke the temple's sanctity. Yet she is the one who will bear the consequences, her life reshaped by a goddess's anger. The gods, in their power, often see mortals as pieces in their divine games, their actions driven by pride or rivalry rather than fairness. Medusa, a woman who, the temple of Athena, stands silent under a sky dusted with stars, its marble columns bathed in the soft glow of moonlight. The sacred flame at the altar flickers, casting gentle shadows that dance across the stone floor, as if mourning the events that have unfolded. The sea beyond the temple hums its quiet song, a lullaby that weaves through the night, untouched by the sorrow within these walls. Medusa, still reeling from Athena's wrath, stands alone in the place that was once her sanctuary, her heart heavy with the weight of a divine judgment she did not earn. Now, as Athena's curse takes hold, Medusa's very being is reshaped, her humanity stripped away in a moment of divine cruelty. As we settle into this chapter, let the calm of the night and the rhythm of the waves guide you, easing you into a state of rest. Medusa's transformation is not a gentle change, but a wrenching act of divine power, a punishment meant to mark her as an outcast forever. Athena, in her anger, has chosen a curse that will make Medusa unrecognizable, not just to others but to herself. The beauty that once defined her, the quiet grace that drew eyes in the village and the temple, is the first to be taken. Where once her hair flowed like a river of chestnut and gold, catching the sunlight in soft waves, now something else begins to stir. The strands twist and writhe, no longer hair but living serpents, their scales glinting in the dim light of the temple. Each snake moves with a life of its own, a chorus of hisses that replaces the gentle rustle of her locks. Her face, once warm and inviting, undergoes a change so profound it defies the mortal form she once knew. Athena's curse reshapes her features, turning her countenance into something that inspires dread. Her eyes, which once held kindness and devotion, now carry a power that Medusa herself cannot control. A single glance from her, even unintentional, can turn living flesh to stone, a petrifying gaze that makes her a danger to anyone who meets her eyes. This is not a gift, but a burden, a weapon she cannot sheathe, a curse that isolates her from the world she once belonged to. Her skin, her form, all are altered, marked by the goddess's wrath in ways that make her a figure of fear. The transformation is not just physical, it is a tearing away of Medusa's identity, a severing of the woman she was from the creature she has become. She stands in the temple, her hands reaching to touch the serpents that now crown her head, their cold scales foreign against her fingers. The weight of this change is overwhelming, a loss that sinks into her heart like a stone. She was a priestess, a woman who lived for Athena's service, whose days were filled with the quiet joy of devotion. Now, she is something else, something the world will call a monster. The injustice of it lingers in the air, a silent cry that the temple's walls cannot answer. Imagine Medusa now, standing in the dim glow of the temple, her reflection caught in a polished bronze offering bowl. The face that looks back is not her own, not the one she knew. The serpents twist and coil, their eyes glinting like tiny stars, and her own gaze is one she dares not meet. The temple, once her home, feels alien now, its sacred air heavy with the echo of Athena's curse. The sea outside continues its gentle rhythm, a reminder of the world beyond, but Medusa is no longer part of that world. She is marked, changed, her humanity stolen by a goddess's anger over an act she did not choose. The curse is not just a punishment for Medusa, but a statement from Athena, a warning to all who serve her. The temple's sanctity, violated by Poseidon's actions, has been avenged not through justice but through spectacle. Medusa's transformation makes her a living symbol of the consequences of divine displeasure, a figure to be feared rather than pitied. Yet this is where the tragedy lies. Medusa did not seek Poseidon's attention, did not invite the desecration of the temple. She was a mortal, powerless against a god, and now she bears the weight of a punishment meant to restore Athena's honor. The serpents, the petrifying gaze, are not her doing, not her fault. As the transformation completes, Medusa feels the full weight of her isolation. The temple, once a place of community, of shared hymns and quiet rituals, is now a prison of her own altered form. She cannot return to the village, cannot face the people who once knew her as a priestess, a friend. Her gaze, now deadly, makes even the simplest human connection impossible. The serpents hiss softly, a constant reminder of her new reality, their movements a strange counterpoint to the stillness of the night. Medusa's heart, still mortal, aches with the loss of who she was, the life she can no longer live. Let this scene settle gently in your mind, the temple's moonlight casting a soft glow over Medusa's changed form. The sacred flame burns low, its light a faint echo of the devotion she once offered. The sea's song weaves through the air, a lullaby that contrasts with the sorrow within these walls. Medusa, now a figure of myth, stands at the edge of her old life, her transformation a bridge to a new, lonely existence. This moment is not one of horror but of quiet tragedy, a woman reshaped by forces beyond her control. Let the image of the temple, its calm marred by loss, guide you toward rest. The transformation into a monster is the heart of Medusa's story, not because it defines her, but because it reveals the cruelty of her fate. She is not a villain, not a creature of malice, but a woman caught in the whims of gods. The serpents, the petrifying gaze, are Athena's creation, not Medusa's choice. As you listen, let the rhythm of the waves, the soft glow of the temple, lull you into a state of peace. Medusa's story is one of injustice, but also of a quiet resilience that lingers beneath her new form, a strength that will carry her through the isolation to come. This is Medusa's turning point, the moment when she becomes the figure of legend, not by her own will but by divine decree. The temple, once her sanctuary, is now the site of her transformation, its sanctity forever tied to. The world is quiet now, wrapped in the soft embrace of night. Far from the gleaming marble of Athena's temple, beyond the reach of the village where laughter once echoed, lies a desolate island, its shores kissed by a restless sea. The air here is heavy with salt and solitude. The only sounds the whisper of waves against jagged rocks and the occasional cry of a lone gull. This is where Medusa now dwells, banished from the life she knew, her once human form forever altered by Athena's curse. The serpents that crown her head stir gently, their hisses a faint counterpoint to the sea's lullaby. As we settle into this chapter of her story, let the rhythm of the waves and the stillness of the island guide you, easing you into a state of calm and rest. Medusa's exile is not just a physical removal from the world, but a severing of all that tethered her to her past. The temple, with its sacred flame and marble columns, is a distant memory, its warmth replaced by the cold stone of this barren place. The village, where she once walked among friends, is unreachable, its people now strangers who would recoil at the sight of her. Her transformation snakes for hair, a gaze that turns life to stone has made her an outcast, a figure who can no longer belong to the human world. The island, with its craggy cliffs and sparse, windswept vegetation, is her prison, a place where time seems to stretch endlessly, each moment heavy with the weight of her solitude. Her sisters, Stheno and Euryale, are with her, their immortal presence, a small comfort in this desolate landscape. Unlike Medusa, they were born divine. Their gorgon forms a part of their nature rather than a curse. They, too, bear fearsome features, but their immortality shields them from the mortal pain Medusa feels. They stand by her, their bond unbroken, yet even their companionship cannot fill the void left by her lost life. Stheno, fierce and unyielding, and Euryale, mournful yet steadfast, try to ease her sorrow, but Medusa's mortal heart aches for the world she can no longer touch. The island is their shared refuge, but for Medusa it is a reminder of all she has lost. Life here is stark, stripped of the rhythms that once defined her days. There are no altars to tend, no hymns to sing, no offerings to arrange for Athena's favor. Instead, Medusa's days are shaped by the island's harsh simplicity. She walks its rocky paths, her footsteps soft against the stone, the serpents in her hair swaying with each step. The sea surrounds her, its endless expanse a mirror to her isolation. She listens to its waves, their rise and fall a constant companion, but they offer no answers, no solace for the pain of her transformation. The island's caves, dark and cool, become her shelter. Their shadows a place to hide from the world that now fears her. Medusa's gaze, now a weapon she cannot control, makes even the smallest interactions impossible. She cannot look upon her sisters without risking their safety, though their immortality might protect them. She learns to keep her eyes averted, her head bowed, a habit born of necessity and sorrow. The serpents, ever moving, seem to watch the world for her, their hisses a strange chorus that fills the silence. Once, her beauty drew people to her. Now, her appearance drives them away, a cruel reversal that cuts deeper with each passing day. The island, with its empty shores, is a place where she can harm no one, but it is also a place where she is utterly alone. Imagine Medusa now, standing at the edge of a cliff, the sea stretching out before her like a canvas of silver and blue. The wind tugs at her, cool against her skin, and the serpents coil restlessly. their scales catching the moonlight. The island is silent, save for the waves and the occasional call of her sisters from the caves below. This is her world now, a place of stark beauty and profound loneliness. She does not rage against her fate, not yet. Instead, she carries her sorrow quietly, her mortal heart beating in a body that no longer feels like her own. The sea's song is her only constant, a reminder of the world beyond, a world she can no longer reach. The tragedy of Medusa's exile is not just her isolation, but the loss of purpose that once defined her. As a priestess, her life was woven with meaning, every ritual, every prayer, a thread in the tapestry of her devotion. Now, that tapestry is unraveled, leaving her adrift. She does not seek to harm, does not revel in the power of her petrifying gaze. She is not the monster the myths will make her out to be, but a woman trapped in a form that betrays her heart. The island, with its endless horizons, is both her refuge and her cage, a place where she can exist but not truly live. Her sisters try to fill the silence, their voices a tether to the past. Stheno speaks of strength, urging Medusa to endure, while Uriel hums soft melodies, as if to soothe her pain. But even their love cannot erase the weight of Athena's curse, the knowledge that Medusa's life has been stolen by a goddess's wrath. She wonders, in the quiet moments, why she was punished for Poseidon's actions, why her devotion to Athena was not enough to protect her. These questions linger, unanswered, like the mist that clings to the island's shores, a gentle fog that wraps her in its embrace. As we linger in this scene, picture the island under the stars, its cliffs rising sharp against the sea. Medusa stands alone, her silhouette framed by the night, the serpents moving softly in the breeze. The waves sing their lullaby, a rhythm that soothes even in its melancholy. This is a moment of quiet sorrow, a woman exiled not just from the world but from herself. Let the image of the island, its stark beauty and endless sea, settle. The island where Medusa dwells is a world apart, its rocky shores kissed by a sea that stretches endlessly under a sky of soft twilight. The waves whisper their timeless lullaby, a gentle rhythm that weaves through the air, mingling with the faint hiss of the serpents in Medusa's hair. The cliffs rise sharp against the horizon, their edges softened by the glow of stars, and the caves below offer a cool, shadowed refuge. Here, in this desolate place, Medusa lives in exile, her life reshaped by Athena's curse, her once human form now a figure of dread. Yet the world beyond the island, the world of mortals and heroes, knows her not as a woman wronged, but as a monster to be feared. As we settle into this chapter, let the calm of the sea and the stillness of the night guide you, easing you into a state of rest. Medusa, in her isolation, does not seek to harm. Her days are spent in quiet solitude, walking the rocky paths of the island, listening to the waves, or sitting in the cool darkness of her cave. The serpents that crown her head move gently, their scales catching the moonlight, a constant reminder of the curse that defines her now. Her petrifying gaze, a power she cannot control, keeps her apart from the world, a barrier that ensures her loneliness. She does not venture beyond the island, does not seek out mortals to terrorize. Yet stories of her have begun to spread, carried on the lips of sailors and travelers, tales that paint her as a creature of malice, a danger to be hunted rather than a woman to be understood. In the villages along the coast, where the sea meets the land, Medusa's name becomes a whisper of fear. The people who once knew her as a priestess, a woman of grace and devotion, now speak of a monster with snakes for hair, whose eyes can turn a man to stone. The tales grow taller with each telling, weaving a myth that overshadows the truth. She is no longer Medusa, the mortal who served Athena, but the Gorgon, a creature to be avoided, a threat to be vanquished. These stories are not born of her actions but of her appearance, the terrifying visage imposed by Athena's wrath. The world does not see her heart, still mortal, still aching with the loss of her former life. Heroes, drawn by the promise of glory, hear these tales and set their sights on the island. To them, Medusa is not a woman, but a prize, her head a trophy that will cement their legend. They do not know the story of her transformation, the injustice of her punishment, or the sorrow that fills her days. They see only the monster, the challenge, the chance to prove their valor. The island, once a place of solitude, becomes a destination for those seeking fame, their ships cutting through the sea, their swords gleaming with purpose. Medusa, unaware of their approach, lives in her quiet exile. Her only companions, her immortal sisters, Stheno and Euryale, who share her isolation but not her mortal pain. Imagine Medusa now, standing at the edge of a cliff, the sea stretching out before her like a silver mirror. The wind carries the scent of salt, cool against her skin, and the serpents in her hair sway softly, their hisses blending with the waves. She does not know that her name is spoken in fear, that heroes are plotting her demise. She is a woman, not a monster, her heart heavy with the weight of her curse. The island is her world, its stark beauty a strange comfort, its solitude a shield against the pain of rejection. Yet, the world beyond sees her differently, its judgment shaped not by her actions but by the stories that have taken root. The misjudgment of Medusa is a tragedy in itself, a layer of sorrow added to her already heavy fate. She does not lure travelers to her island, does not seek to wield her petrifying gaze as a weapon. If men turn to stone, it is because they come to her, their eyes meeting hers in a moment she cannot prevent. Her curse makes her a danger, but it is not her choice to be so. The heroes who seek her out, like Perseus who will later come with his mirrored shield, see her as a challenge to overcome, not a woman who was wronged. They do not know of Poseidon's actions, of Athena's wrath, of the temple where Medusa's life was forever changed. They see only the Gorgon, the myth, the monster. The stories that spread about Medusa are like ripples on the sea, growing wider and more distorted with each telling. In one village, they say she lures sailors to their doom, her gaze a deliberate trap. In another, they claim she revels in her power, turning men to stone for sport. These tales are far from the truth, but they take hold, shaping the world's view of her. The people who once offered her smiles in the temple now shudder at her name, their memories of her kindness buried. The island lies cloaked in the soft hush of night, its rugged cliffs standing sentinel against the endless sea. The waves roll gently, their rhythm a quiet lullaby that weaves through the air, carrying the faint salt of the ocean and the whisper of a world beyond. In the cool shadows of a cave, Medusa sits, the serpents in her hair stirring softly, their scales glinting like stars in the dim light. The island is her world now, a place of solitude where the echoes of her past life as a priestess linger only in memory. The world beyond knows her as a monster, a creature to be hunted, but her story is one of profound tragedia tale of a woman wronged by gods and misunderstood by mortals. As we settle into this chapter, let the sea's gentle song and the island's stillness guide you, easing you into a state of calm and rest. Medusa's tragedy is not the fearsome form she now bears, nor the petrifying gaze that keeps her apart from the world. It is the injustice that runs through her story like a dark thread, binding her to a fate she did not choose. She was once a woman of devotion, her days filled with the quiet joy of serving Athena, her heart tied to the sacred rhythms of the temple. She did not seek the attention of Poseidon, did not invite the violation of her vows or the desecration of the temple's sanctity. Yet it was she who bore the weight of divine wrath, she who was transformed and exiled, she who became a figure of fear in the eyes of the world. Her tragedy lies in this unfairness, in the loss of her humanity for actions beyond her control. The gods, in their vast power, often see mortals as fleeting, their lives mere moments in the tapestry of eternity. Poseidon, driven by desire, crossed a line that shattered Medusa's world, but faced no consequence. Athena, in her anger, sought to restore the honor of her temple, but chose a mortal woman as the target of her curse, sparing the god who shared the blame. This imbalance, this divine indifference to Medusa's innocence, is the heart of her sorrow. She was a priestess, a mortal bound by vows, powerless against the will of gods. Yet the myths that will be told of her will not speak of her devotion, her kindness, or her pain. They will speak only of the Gorgon, the monster, erasing the woman she was. Medusa's mortal heart, still beating beneath her cursed form, carries the weight of this injustice. In the quiet of her island, she has time to reflect, though reflection brings no comfort. The serpents hiss softly, a constant reminder of Athena's wrath, and her gaze, deadly even to herself, keeps her from the simplest connections. She cannot look upon her sisters, Stheno and Euryale, without fear of harming them, though their immortality might protect them. She cannot return to the village, cannot walk among the people who once knew her. Her exile is not just physical but emotional, a separation from the world that once gave her life meaning. The sea, with its endless song, is her only companion, but it cannot answer the questions that linger in her heart. Why her? Why this fate? Why such cruelty for a moment she did not choose? Imagine Medusa now, sitting in the cave's cool embrace, the sea's murmur drifting through the entrance. The serpents coil gently, their movements a strange counterpoint to the stillness of the night. Her face, hidden in shadow, is one she no longer recognizes, a mask imposed by divine anger. Yet beneath it, she is still Medusa, the woman who loved the temple's quiet rituals, who found joy in the flicker of the sacred flame. Her tragedy is not just the loss of her beauty or her life, but the loss of her story, rewritten by a world that sees only the monster. The heroes who will come, seeking her head as a trophy, will not know her truth. They will see only the challenge, not the woman who was wronged. The island, with its stark beauty, is a fitting stage for this tragedy. Its cliffs, worn smooth by the sea, stand as silent witnesses to Medusa's pain. The caves offer shelter, but no warmth. The sea offers music, but no solace. Her sisters, ever present, try to ease her sorrow. Stheno, fierce and protective, speaks of endurance, while Euryale, with her mournful voice, hums melodies that echo the sea's song. But even their love cannot undo the curse, cannot restore the life Medusa lost. They are immortal. Their Gorgon forms a part of their nature. while Medusa's transformation is a punishment, a mark of shame she carries alone. Her mortal heart, fragile and human, bears the weight of this difference, this isolation. The tragedy of Medusa is that she is remembered not for who she was, but for what she became. The myths will paint her as a villain, a creature to be slain, her head a prize for heroes like Perseus. They will not tell of the temple, of Poseidon's actions, of Athena's wrath. They will not speak of the woman who walked the village paths, who tended Athena's altar, who lived a life of quiet devotion. This erasure is a second injustice, a final twist of the knife that cuts through her story. Medusa, in her exile, cannot speak for herself, cannot correct the tales that spread like wildfire. She is voiceless, her truth buried beneath the weight of legend. As we linger in this scene, picture the island under the starlit sky, its cliffs rising like guardians against the sea. Medusa sits in her cave, the serpents moving softly, the waves singing their eternal lullaby. This is a moment of quiet sorrow, a woman whose tragedy is woven into every aspect of her fate. Let the image of the island, its rugged beauty and endless sea, settle gently in your mind, a reminder of the injustice that defines Medusa's story. Her heart, still mortal, carries a resilience that lingers, a quiet strength that endures despite the weight of her pain. This is Medusa's tragedy, a story of a woman caught in the whims of gods, punished for a crime she did not commit, and misjudged by a world that does not see her truth. As you listen, let the rhythm of the waves, the cool touch of the cave's shadows, lull you into a state of peace. Her story is one of loss, but also of a quiet endurance that shines through her sorrow. As we move forward, we'll reach the conclusion of her tale, reflecting on the lessons it holds and the peace it can bring. But for now, rest in this moment, letting the sea's song and the island's stillness guide you towards sleep, carrying you gently into the final chapter of her tale. The night wraps the island in a gentle embrace, its cliffs standing silent under a sky strewn with stars. The sea, ever present, sings its soft lullaby, the waves rolling in a rhythm that feels like the heartbeat of the world. In the cool shadows of her cave, Medusa rests, the serpents in her hair moving faintly, their hisses blending with the whisper of the tide. This island, her place of exile, is a world apart, a sanctuary of solitude where her story unfolds in quiet sorrow. As we reach the end of her tale, we reflect on the truth of Medusa, not the monster of myth, but the woman whose terrifying appearance was not her fault, a victim of divine injustice and mortal misunderstanding. Let the sea's gentle song and the island's stillness guide you, easing you into a state of calm as we close this story and wish you a peaceful sleep. Medusa's journey began in a world of light and devotion, where she served as a priestess in Athena's temple, her days filled with the quiet joy of sacred rituals. Her beauty, unassuming yet radiant, was a gift she did not flaunt, her heart tied to the vows that shaped her life. But the gods, with their boundless power, saw her as a piece in their divine games. Poseidon's pursuit, whether by seduction or force, shattered the sanctity of the temple, a moment Medusa did not choose. Athena's wrath, swift and unforgiving, fell not on the sea god but on the mortal woman, transforming her into a figure of fear snakes for hair, a gaze that petrifies. This curse, this transformation, was not Medusa's doing, but a punishment for a transgression she could not prevent. Exiled to this desolate island, Medusa became a figure of legend, her name whispered in fear by those who once knew her as a friend. The world beyond, shaped by stories and myths, saw her as a monster, a danger to be hunted by heroes seeking glory. Yet Medusa did not seek to harm, did not wield her petrifying gaze with malice. She lived in solitude, her mortal heart aching for the life she lost, her sisters Theno and Uriel her only companions. The tragedy of her story lies not in her appearance, but in the injustice that created it, to the unfairness of a goddess's anger, the indifference of a god's desire, and the world's rush to judge what it did not understand. As we reflect on Medusa's tale, we see a woman caught in a web of divine whims, her humanity buried beneath a curse that defined her in the eyes of others. She was not born a monster, nor did she choose to become one. Her terrifying appearance, the serpents, the deadly gaze, were the work of Athena, a mark of divine retribution for a moment Medusa could not control. The heroes who sought her head, like Perseus with his mirrored shield, saw only the challenge, not the woman who once tended Athena's altar. The myths that spread, painting her as a villain, erased her truth, leaving only the image of the Gorgon. Yet beneath that image, Medusa's heart remained human, fragile, and enduring. This story, though steeped in tragedy, carries a quiet lesson. Things are not always as they seem. Medusa's fearsome form was a mask, a punishment imposed by a goddess's wrath, not a reflection of her soul. Her story asks us to look beyond appearances, to seek the truth beneath the myths we hear. It reminds us of the power of empathy, of understanding the stories of those who are judged unfairly. Medusa, in her exile, could not speak her truth, but we can carry it for her, remembering her not as a monster but as a woman whose fate was shaped by forces beyond her control. Imagine Medusa now, sitting by the sea's edge, the waves lapping gently at the rocks below. The serpents in her hair sway softly, their movements a strange harmony with the tide. The stars above shine bright, casting a gentle light over the island, a place that has become both her prison and her refuge. Her sisters nearby offer their quiet presence, their voices a soft echo in the night. This is Medusa's world, a world of solitude but also of resilience, a testament to the strength that lingers in her mortal heart. The sea's song wraps around her, a lullaby that soothes even in its melancholy, a reminder that beauty and sorrow can coexist. As we close this tale, let the image of Medusa by the sea settle gently in your mind. The island, with its rugged cliffs and endless waves, is a place of quiet beauty, a fitting end to a story that began in a temple's glow. Medusa's life was marked by loss, but also by a silent endurance, a strength that carried her through exile and misjudgment. Her story is not one of horror, but of humanity, a reminder that even those deemed monstrous have hearts that beat with the same hopes and pains as our own. Let this truth linger, a soft whisper as you drift toward rest. The sea continues its song, its rhythm, a gentle guide into the night. The stars above twinkle, their light a promise of peace. Medusa's tale, though tragic, is a story that invites us to pause, to reflect, to find compassion in the face of injustice. As you listen, let the weight of the day slip away, like sand carried off by the tide. The island, the sea, the quiet of the night all are part of this story's end, a moment to rest in the truth of Medusa's life. She was not a monster, but a woman, her terrifying appearance a curse she did not earn. This is the end of Medusa's story, A tale of a woman wronged, transformed, and misunderstood, yet enduring in her quiet way. As the waves sing their lullaby, let them carry you towards sleep, their rhythm a soft embrace. The island fades into the night, its cliffs standing as silent guardians, its sea a mirror of calm. Medusa's story lingers, a gentle reminder to look beyond the surface, to see the heart beneath the myth. Close your eyes now, letting the sea's song and the starlight guide you into a peaceful slumber, carrying the truth of Medusa's tale with you as you rest. Good night, and may your dreams be as gentle as the waves that cradle this island, as enduring as the woman whose story we've shared.